on a slow meat cooker. My babe is gonna kick me out someday. Somebody said wolves howling at my door. I ain't seen no wolf since I was 24. But my babe is gonna kick me out someday. Baby's gonna kick, baby's gonna kick, baby's gonna kick me out someday. Baby's gonna kick.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Perfectly Good Podcast, the only podcast on the internet where Sylvan Groth and I are talking every John Hyatt song from A to Z. Today, we are riding downtown and opening a new chapter. Hey, we're in the Bees. How about it, Sylvan?
We're just like, as you said, rolling along, and this journey has got its momentum under it. And who would have thought that there would be songs that start with baby, right?
Yes, exactly. So I do need to share a story with you, and hopefully, if listeners, please share with us. So I was recording with my buddy Charles on my Doctor Who podcast. Charles and I co-host, and Christine Peruski was on there as a guest, a guest companion, and we were discussing a David Tennant episode, and I was promoting Perfectly Good Podcast, and Christine is very meticulous, and in fact, when we do a Game of Thrones podcast together, and she calls herself the mistress of correction. So she asked, okay, are you doing those? Are you going to have the, or are you going to like if it's a good man, is it good man, comma, a? How are you doing this? And you've got to be consistent. And I told her, luckily, John Hyatt does not have any songs that start with A. And yes, we are planning to not do all the these in one row, that we were going to do the alphabetical where the
American
will be
Library
on the side.
Association.
Yes. And she gave her seal of approval.
Oh, good.
So we've got at least one person happy with this. Yes. Tonight we're talking Baby's Gonna Kick.
Yes.
So what's the facts?
Just the facts. This was from the album Terms of My Surrender, which was one of John's more recent albums that was nominated for Americana Album of the Year Award Grammy. Yay. It was lovely to see John finally getting some of his well-deserved attention from the, powers that be in the music industry. It is track 6. It was recorded at Studio G in Nashville, Tennessee, and released July 14th, 2014. So a fairly recent one. And this album was produced by Doug Lancio, who has toured with John under several different band names. Also features Brandon Young, who toured with John as part of a band as his road manager and sound editor, and also kind of a duet partner. Kenny Blevins, the drummer most near and dear to my heart, and a member of the Goners from Louisiana, and Nathan Gary on bass. So a nice solid band. As I said, a more recent recording. So I don't believe there are any covers out there. I did a couple of searches and couldn't find anyone. It is also one of 2 songs officially released by John Hyatt that mentions John Lee Hooker, which I kind of get a kick out of. I love it when John name drops, and this one he's not trying to throw any shade about whether John Lee Hooker would record a song, as we know from Memphis in the Meantime, or making any kind of joke, just a little reference to the blues masters, which I think is very fitting for the blues tone of this song. Any impressions you have that you wanted to share, Jesse?
So I had not spent a lot of time with this album or song. So when I pulled it up and started listening to it, at first I was kind of not impressed. And then today I, kicked it, started it again, and pulled the lyrics up in front of me and didn't try to multitask. I didn't try to read email or try to work things. I just paid attention to it. And I won't say it totally redeemed the song to me, but I liked it more than I thought I would. It is a little bit more of John's kind of tongue in cheek that
Yes.
I'm gonna F this up sooner or later. Just you could, no matter what I do, sooner or later, I'm gonna just do something wrong, and she's gonna be kicking me to the curb. How about you?
I agree. I really like it when John kind of talks about how stupid men can be. Sorry, that makes
Yes.
me a
No, I hear.
raging
I
feminist.
agree.
Or,
Yes.
um, and love can go wrong in a really cry your heart out kind of way, or it can go wrong in a kind of, well, saw that coming, but we had our fun on the way, didn't we? So yeah, just the baby's gonna kick, baby's gonna kick, baby's gonna kick me out someday. And it is one of those classic, it sounds so sad, but he delivers it in such a way that you kind of like smile and bob your head along to it. And there's a lot of reference to just kind of dancing a little bit through it. It's a pretty short one for him. There's not a lot of depth to the lyrics. There's not a story, so to speak. I was struck, like I always am fascinated when he throws numbers into songs. I
Okay.
had some ideas when I was doing my fanzine. I have a crossword on the back, and I always wanted to do some kind of like numerology puzzle where people would have to take the numbers from different songs and do various math problems to get one answer. I never did do that because it was probably a level of geekdom that I can't go to. But there's a line, somebody said, wolf's howling at my door. I ain't seen the wolf since I was 24. Now, why 24? Just because it rhymes? Because there's some kind of significance that, 24 was a long ways away when John recorded this. I believe he would have been in his 50s in 2014. But yeah, do you have any Wolf
So
24
no,
knowledge?
now then you're thinking, and it is easy to, so I'll tell another story. Because you know me, I love telling stories. Early, back, when, middle 90s, I guess, Linda bought me a Christmas gift she signed me up for leisure learning at SMU here in
Uh-huh.
Dallas, and it was a 6-week course of the it was basically the Star Trek and the oh, now I'm drawing a blank on the don't interfere, commandment. And I'm now, they're yelling at
First
me,
do
and
no harm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that kind, yeah. So
I don't remember the Latin either. Yeah.
yeah, so um and so the premise was, you watched a 45-minute episode, and then the next 45 minutes you discussed the episode and the talking about, should, where, what should they have done, what would they do, and so there was one of the points, and the guy's bringing up a question, and he says, um, he asked the question, and someone raises their hand and said, well, if we do that, the show's over. So that's why they can't do that.
Right.
And he said, stop. And he's like, absolutely. That is the correct answer. However, in this class, the parameters is we're going to pretend this isn't a TV show, that this is reality, and we are determining, we have to find the reasons why they are doing this, to thing. And she went, oh, okay. So the answer quickly is probably door and 24 rhyme. That is
Yep.
a good answer. However, that makes for a boring podcast.
Right.
So the idea, right, is that I think 24 is an age where you're just starting to get sense.
Yeah.
Right?
You
I
know
will,
what you don't know at 24.
you're starting to know, right? Like Chris, my son, will say still, that's when I was young and dumb.
Mhm.
Right? And there is that famous Mark Twain quote about, I was surprised, my father was an idiot. I was surprised how much he learned. After I trapped 5 years later, I was surprised how much he had learned. So yeah, at 24, you're just getting, your kind of awareness, and maybe, he's coming aware, and maybe I am, that wolf hauling at the door. He's learning, maybe I should not run away from it. Maybe I need to be a little more mature in my relationships. Maybe accept the fact that, because when you're 19, 20, 21, and this is an overgeneralization, and I apologize for anyone who's mature for their age, it's always someone else's fault in the relationship. You never take ownership of the problem in the relationship at all. It's, well, she didn't want to listen, or he didn't care about me, or that. Versus you're now starting to he's taking knowledge. I'm jiggle to the left, jiggle to the right, one more jiggle, I'm putting out the light, right? I've got to adjust what I'm doing, or else she's going to kick me to the curb.
Yep. I agree with everything you're saying, but the more we're talking about the song, I'm thinking about how John talks about writing songs, that he always writes the music first, and then he, eventually has to come up with some words to replace the ooh, ah, blah, blah, blah that he's, doing. And it kind of feels like he didn't stray too far from the ooh, ah, blah blah blah, and there's actually some bootlegs out there where there are unfinished songs where he's like basically saying yada yada over this tune.
Yeah.
And some of them I'm like, oh man, I wish he would finish that, because that's so good. To me, I think maybe like we can analyze it all we want, but really what this song boils down to is he just kind of had this idea of like that blues song of like, yeah, I'm a loser and I'm going to get kicked to the curb. How many kind of fun ways can I play around with that? And there isn't a lot more depth to it than, I want to have some fun sounds over these chords.
Well, and, it goes back to the, move it on over, the old country classic, move it on over, because you're in the doghouse now or something, So yeah, I mean, because let's jiggle to the left, jiggle to the right, one more jiggle, I'm putting out the light. My baby is going to kick me out someday. Now, some girls won't do the fire walk. They try to tell you that the coals ain't hot, and my baby is going to kick me out someday. All right, so I have questions.
Okay.
All right. Now, was he and his girlfriend at a Tony Robbins seminar? Right? And like, so Tony's like, okay, I'm going to show you, you can walk across coals. And if you could walk across coals, just think what you could do in your life. And she's like, no, that's stupid. I'm not walking over coals.
Right.
Yeah, I do think that you're right. Right? It is. Did he just feel like having fun and doing a little bit of, um, I'm gonna mess up, and that's okay. And
Yes.
she'll forgive me.
But
You know,
there is a little bit of that trademark analysis and wisdom in John's lyrics that that verse particularly spoke to me too. That like, how often has there been that power imbalance in a relationship where one partner is just dragging the other over misery and just making them perform feats of amazing endurance just to be told like, that's no big deal
yeah,
because they can. Yes.
yeah. And so there there's a couple of examples just close to home that you know some friends of mine, we will keep it anonymous. um the female partner was letting their hair grow longer,
Mhm.
and the male unit was like, yeah, I don't care, it looks good, I'm fine. And they kept asking, are you okay? Okay, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. And I happened to be there, and there was how you can do a display on your TV. And the guy looked, and there was a picture of her with short hair. And
Huh?
he says, now that you keep asking, I think I like it a little bit better short. You hate
Uh-oh.
my hair. Okay, now and he's like, no, no, you have been asking me these questions, and now that, and I was just looking at him like, oh no, you shouldn't have. No, no, no. What are you
Rookie
doing?
mistake. Yeah.
Look at what mistake we're gonna do. And Lynn and I laugh all the time because there will be something that's really bothering her, and she will fix it, and then she will go and go, look what I've done. And I'm like, oh, thanks. No, no, no. Look what I've done. I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay, I don't think you understand. And so, and the same thing happened just a couple weeks ago. She had casually mentioned about wanting something fixed, and I got it fixed. And like, hey, look. And she's like, oh, thanks. And then like, no, no, no. And I was exactly the same that she does to me. And I was like, okay, now I see that side of it a little bit more. Yes.
Yeah. I like that you brought that up while we're talking about this song because I listened to this song and I take him at his word that this is a guy who is probably dating out of his range here,
Yeah. Right.
and that, he is not good enough for the woman in the relationship. But like, it's never like that. None of us are good enough or not good enough for our partners. And
Mhm.
we all just kind of learn to put up with the things. Although he doesn't really say what he's done wrong. I mean, I certainly have no problem with a man who wants to put some meat in a slow cooker and listen to John Lee Hooker. That sounds like a great date night to me.
Yes, it
Some
does.
barbecue and some,
Yes, it
good old
does.
blues.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hmm.
uh,
It
I don't know.
it is a catchy refrain.
Mhm.
It is a fun, it I do believe it became an earworm for me today
Mhm.
as I was listening to it. Very interesting because our previous episode, um, the one before our A recap, we did Angel Eyes, and so those were the two I was listening to. So
Yes.
two very different songs back and forth.
Stylistically,
Yes.
thematically, yes,
Hmm.
very different. And,
Yeah.
quite a distance apart chronologically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun when that happens.
Well, and I my one of my buddies, Junior, will talk about sometimes um songs and catalogs that he'll say, B-sides or album filler, right? And I do think that there are albums that we will discuss from not only John but other musicians where it is an A plus every song on the album is something great. And others, they're go like, okay, that was all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think this would be one of them to me.
I did want to just kind of mention that when I first saw the lyrics, I was reminded of a much older song that is called Kick Out of Nothing, which was kind of transformed into My Baby, which we will get to when we get to the M. So I don't want to like spoil the thing there. But there's something about Baby and Kick that also kind of he's been playing around with quite a bit too. So
good.
Yeah.
All right. This is a short one because I don't think there's a lot of depth there.
Right.
All right.
So is it time to rate?
Yes, it is. All right. It's your turn to go first.
It is my turn to go first. And again, with apologies, you can come and get the pitchforks out, but we are rating on a scale of John Hyatt's not most wonderful song to his absolute most wonderful song. So I'm going to give this a 2. Like, I like the song. I really enjoyed it when he played it in concert. It's fun. You can kind of like boop around to it. And as you said, it's a little earwormy, but it doesn't pass the Sylvan test of someone has never heard of John Hyatt before. Where's the song that I reach to? I'm not reaching for this one.
So I do not think I've ever heard this live. So I'm going to give it a 1. Yeah, that's what I said. This is one that I, on a curve, this would be, if you've got to rank them all, I would like, okay, this is one that I don't feel like I'm hurting this song's feelings by giving it a 1.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, maybe if I heard it live, I might go. And just to remind everyone, you should know this because we just went through this. Our plan is at the end of every alphabet, we will kind of do a review like we did last week with the A's to talk. And who knows, maybe this will wear on me and it'll grow on me and I'll end up moving it up. For now, I'm going to give it a 1.
Okay. Our first one, I think.
Yes, I do think it is our first one.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm glad it was you and not me.
Yeah. I broke the ice. I broke the ice. Yeah. Very nice. All right. We are desperate to hear what you think, because that's the most important thing about this is what you think. You can send us an email at perfectlygoodpodcast@gmail.com. I am at Jesse Jackson DFW, Perfectly Good Pod on Twitter, at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. Sylvan, how about you?
I'm Sylvan Green Eyes on Twitter. I am still on the Evil Facebook, and you can find our Facebook page on there too. We love all of it.
Okay. And yes, go rate, review us on iTunes. We would love to get some reviews. Tell a friend about it. We'll be back next week with another song.
Yes. And this might have not been your favorite episode because we threw a little shade, but have a little faith, everybody.
Have a little faith. And if this is your favorite song, tell us. I would love that.
Yes.
Right? There's every song is someone's favorite song. So that's great. Thank you, Sylvan. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jesse.
Everyone, bye.
Bye-bye.
Baby, we can come on home.